Welcome to the ultimate Switch emulation test on Android of 2023. 4 of my Android devices will be going head on to give you guys a great idea of what amount of RAM and processing power are required to run Yuzu Android with playable frame rates. And how well does emulation work on Mediatek processors? Let's start with the introductions. First of all, we have my Redmi K50i, which I gave to my elder brother and he appears to be taking great care of it. No scratches, no cracks. Nonetheless, it has Mediatek's Dimensity 8100 processor. It can be considered as a semi-flagship chip. That's how you know that we have the best of the worst. Let that sink in for a moment. Anyways, next up we have the good old reliable Poco X3 Pro, which is used by most of the Emu tubers, as this device only comes with 6GB RAM. And yeah, it has Snapdragon 860 processor. Moving on, we have the Little Beast. That's its rapper name, but its original name is Xiaomi 11T Pro with Snapdragon 888 processor, which is notorious for heating up and depleting battery health. It comes with 8GB of RAM, and this device used to be my daily driver until I bought my next phone, which is the almighty OnePlus 11. 16GB of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, pinnacle of flagship Android performance, and all around it's a great device. But is it sufficient for Yuzu Android? Let's find out. So let's begin with our today's testing. Now right here, Mediatek processor, so we'll need to set it up and see what settings are available for Mali GPU users. Let's go to advanced settings, let's go to general. Here we'll disable limit speed percentage. CPU accuracy will be set to auto. Let's go to graphics. We'll decrease the resolution scaling to 0.75x, assuming that few games will work. Accuracy level should be normal. VSync mode is disabled. Disk shader cache has been enabled. Now this option doesn't work as it has Dimensity processor, so enabling this option is useless. Anyways, we'll enable asynchronous shaders and reactive flushing. And in system, dock mode has been disabled. For those of you guys wondering, I have loaded only 2 games as this is the part 1 video of testing. I am using the regular Yuzu Emulator, whereas in my next video we'll be using Yuzu Early Access and we'll be testing out games such as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Demon Slayer, Pokemon Sword and Shield and much more. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. With that being said, to start it off, we'll be testing out Sonic Mania first. As you know, Mediatek processors aren't really suitable for Nintendo Switch emulation and they do have a lot of lagging issues, also crashing issues, unsupported games, because the Yuzu Emulator developers haven't added Mali GPU optimizations. But anyways, Sonic Mania is working perfectly fine with amazing FPS, almost 40 to 60 FPS. But there we go, the game has successfully started and we are getting over 100 FPS, which is pretty awesome. So Sonic Mania definitely works, which shows us that Mediatek Dimensity is indeed capable of Nintendo Switch emulation. Let's exit emulation now and try out our favorite Pokemon game, which is the Let's Go Pikachu. And I hope this game works. It is pretty heavy because the minimum requirements of Yuzu say that you need at least 8GB of RAM. If it works, then that would be pretty amazing. Now Yuzu will indeed support Mali GPU Android devices in the near future. They are working on it. But for now they need to optimize their emulator to make sure almost all these games work, and it's just pretty cool to see all these Android devices. You can see an evolution. Speaking of evolution, we have Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, not Let's Go Eevee. Haha, that was a nice joke I guess. Lot of frame drops in a cutscene. Yeah, this is just the cutscene. The game hasn't even started and we are already noticing so many major frame drops. There we go. It has successfully booted guys. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu running on a Mediatek processor Android device, and unfortunately the game just crashed. So I tried it again and again. The game doesn't work. There are a lot of crashing issues. So in short, huge games like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, they are unplayable on Dimensity processors, but Let's Go Pikachu is surely 100% playable on Skyline Emulator, even on Dimensity processors. So I definitely recommend you guys to use Skyline Emulator if you are interested in Nintendo Switch emulation. Now let's move on towards our next device, which has 6GB of RAM, our legendary Poco X3 Pro with Snapdragon 860 processor. I am not using any kind of GPU drivers. Let me open settings and show you guys the best settings for Snapdragon processor Android devices. Let's go to general, disable limit speed percentage, also picture in picture. Let's go back. By the way, the emulator just froze. Okay, I get it bro. Alright, dock mode has been disabled. Let's go back. Why is this phone so unresponsive, bro? Like seriously, it's supposed to be a flagship phone. Alright, let's go to graphics. Resolution scaling 0.75x as usual. VSync mode has been turned off. Aspect ratio will keep it as touch to window. Disk shader cache has been enabled. Force maximum clocks has also been enabled. Asynchronous shaders, you can also enable this option, and that's about it. So let's start off by testing out Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu right away. We don't even need to test Sonic Mania because you already know, bro. Snapdragon processors are really well suited for emulation, especially 3DS and Nintendo Switch emulations because of the ARM architecture. Alright, the game has successfully loaded. Let's tap on the A button. Dock mode has been disabled, by the way. I think I showed you guys that previously. By the way, I have already added a save file in this device. I'll also try adding a save file in this device and show you guys later on if it will work with the save file. But at the top left corner you will see 0.5 FPS, and there we go. Our entire Android device has just crashed. So if you don't have like minimum 8 GB of RAM, the games will not work properly. Even a small game like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, it's not really small. All the EmuTubers have Poco X3 Pro, which they film to upload gameplays, but I think they have the 8 GB RAM variant, whereas poor me, I have only 6 GB RAM variant and also 8 GB, 16 GB Android devices which are not Poco X3 Pro, unfortunately. There we go guys, the game has successfully booted 10 FPS. But one sad thing about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu is that its FPS is capped. Now even though I have downscale the resolution to 0.75x, we are only getting 8 to 12 FPS. That's the peak of Yuzu Emulator Android. Let me know in the comment section down below how much FPS do you guys get while trying to play Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on your Android devices. So Poco X3 Pro, decent performance, not playable, I can't access anything. So yeah, Yuzu Emulator is pretty buggy and 6 GB RAM is not efficient for it to emulate Nintendo Switch games. So this device is also a fail, not complete fail though. It can indeed run many Nintendo Switch games at playable FPS. I think Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu just has some sort of frame rate capping, because if we just go ahead and try out our 8 GB RAM Android device, this has Snapdragon 888 processor, as I have already told you guys before. Let's quickly open Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Now as I mentioned before, I'll be also testing out these games on Yuzu Early Access build, which is supposed to be way better than the normal Yuzu Emulator Android, because it costs $6. We'll test that out once like this video reaches 200 likes, so be sure to hit that like button. Okay, here's the moment of truth. How much FPS will we get at the same position where I loaded the same game on my Poco X3 Pro? You'll notice that I'm getting the same amount of FPS, about 8 to 12 FPS, and this is supposed to have, I guess, Snapdragon 860 processor and this has 888. Still you'll notice that Yuzu Emulator is just unoptimized. That's why we are getting same amount of FPS in both the Android devices, even though there is a significant upgrade in RAM as well as processor. So Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu does have some sort of frame capping. That's why if you try playing a different game like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Pokemon Scarlet doesn't work for now. FIFA 23, it should work perfectly. Speaking of FIFA 23, let's try it out. As you might see at the top left corner, we are getting about 100 FPS. Alright, there we go, our FIFA 23 has successfully started. Now let's get to our next device. Snapdragon 888 processor is definitely considered to be playable in terms of Nintendo Switch emulation on Android. So if you have this device, you are done for. By done for, I mean that you are set for emulation. And now let's unlock our beast of an Android device. 16 GB RAM, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, top of the line. There is no Android device as good as this. I mean, there are a few gaming phones, but they are quite expensive and don't ship to India. So we'll try out the same game, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and you will definitely notice a huge jump in FPS. The title screen is running at 60 FPS. Let's tap on the A button. There we go. The game has started, and guess what? We are getting around 15 to 16 FPS, which is not playable at all, if you know what I mean. But still, if you guys do have Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, I guess you are all set for Nintendo Switch emulation anyways, because it's really powerful Android device. And Let's Go Pikachu is not the game you should be playing on Yuzu Emulator Android. And you'll notice in the battle scenes we are getting straight up 60 FPS. There are no frame drops. Now let's find out if Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu will work on Dimensity processor if I add a save file. There we go, let's see the title screen. The FPS is definitely not playable. So for those of you guys with Mediatek processor, I do recommend you use Skyline emulator for now, or just use Citra 3DS emulator, because Nintendo Switch emulation is out of the question. and there the game goes, it crashed again. So Let's Go Pikachu is unplayable, which means that none of the good games can be played on Yuzu Android on a Mediatek processor for now. So you'll have to be patient. Well, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification. I'll keep you guys up to date with all the latest Yuzu Emulator Android updates. With that being said, see you guys next time. Goodbye.